Start the recording. Good morning, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Can y'all hear me okay out there?
Yes, hello.
Jennifer is expecting to be here, but she may be running a little bit late. She had a meeting with the governor. How is the video recording as far as quality and everything? Is it okay?
It's actually the first one I've ever consumed.
Watched? Okay.
I've created a bunch of them, but
Yeah.
I've never been on the receiving end.
Yeah.
I was pretty pleased. We've invested a lot in AV.
Yeah.
I mean, these are pretty nice systems. And I'm a wanderer while I teach, and so I love having the surround mic.
Yeah.
option.
Well, the previous camera had a tracking function.
Yeah, this one, it'll track if you turn it on. Some people turn it off. It looks like it's off right
It's not an option on the controls
Oh, you didn't
anymore.
have it
Yeah, I
anymore?
was asking Dr. Pierce about that because the old one would kind of zoom and track.
Yeah, well, I mean, that unit, it's got the gimbal
Yeah.
on it. I don't know why the hardware's there. Maybe it's not being completely built in the system.
Maybe Curtis Stout didn't know how to do that. All right, it's a little bit after 6, so I'm going to go ahead and get this party started. Got, just like last week, a lot of material to cover. And that was a lot, and it's pretty much about par for course for probably this week and next. So I'm not gonna delay, and let's get going here. So this is where we are in the syllabus. We're halfway there already, y'all. Tonight we're gonna start talking about incident response planning. This will be relevant for assignment 4, which your assignment 3 you've still got a couple of weeks to get that done. But we're going to go ahead and start talking about incident response planning. Remember, the privacy impact assessment is essentially a risk management tool. So it's still relevant in the stuff that we're talking about. Next week, we'll continue risk response planning. I'm probably gonna do some more discussion about the privacy impact assessment templates, and give you a little bit better feel, I think, for what we're hoping to get out of those for assignment 3. Following week, October 15th, assignment 3 is due. There will be no lecture. You are encouraged to do something with class time. Just do something. And if you're inclined, please feel free to share it on the discussion board. We've seen some pretty cool things over the years about how people took that time to pause, usually pretty much mid-semester, and reflect a little bit about why you're going through what you're going through. And it helps, I think, make it real a little bit, and hopefully give you a little boost to get to the rest of the semester. So that's where we are syllabus wise. And let's pull this one up. So class assignments, privacy impact assessment template is due October 15th. Data breach incident response plan due November 5th. So you should be well on your way in getting the template done. And then assignment 4 is going to be probably a little bit more substantive as far as the assignments go. Assignment 2, the privacy policy and privacy assignment are the probably the most substantive of the assignments, other than the final assignment. Assignment 3 shouldn't be too challenging for you guys. And did I hear a question out there somewhere? Maybe not. So anyway, we're marching on, getting close to the end of the semester. So if there are no questions about syllabus or assignment, then let's take a look at building an incident response plan and some risk management stuff. Part of what we're going to talk about tonight too, we're going to take a dive into some of the law in Arkansas about notification requirements. So we'll spend some time digesting some of that stuff. It's not a fun read, and there's slides with like a lot of words on it, but it's really for consumption afterward, not so much for in the classroom. Can't start October without saying Happy National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, everybody. So yay, we're safe. We I guess next week we'll talk about privacy awareness and training in some detail. And I always love Cybersecurity Awareness Month because we try to do some fun things. UALR has some activities going on. We have we usually do a chili cook-off in October. We're doing it towards the end of the month, and we've got some cybersecurity related activities that we're going to tie into the chili cook-off to wrap up the month. And then some other just fun activities that people are going to complain about, but that's okay. So what are we going to do tonight? Let's talk about incident response planning. In this lecture, I usually do a discussion on some privacy polling, and we're going to talk about it. Usually the class is large enough that we actually go through and compile responses from 40 or 50 folks. But this year, we don't have enough folks to do that. But we're going to talk through the polling. We're going to talk about laws related to data security and data breaches, and then get into some risk management practices. So a lot of stuff to cover tonight. Hopefully we'll all be able to stay awake until we leave. So assignment 3, you guys should be working on this now. It's due in a couple of weeks. Using the information provided above, any information you deem relevant, provide a privacy impact assessment template to be used when acquiring new technologies to reduce the risk of privacy issues for Quantum Leap. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks, folks will start getting in some samples for us to take a look. You don't have to wait until you have your polished assignment ready for submission to shoot it over to me and Jennifer to take a look. We're happy to take a look any chance we get. So hopefully we'll start seeing those coming up pretty soon. The next assignment, assignment 4, due at the beginning of class on November 5th, is an incident response plan. So you're going to build an incident response plan, a data breach incident response plan for Quantum Leap. I think one of the things that I will say early and say often is that this is not a cybersecurity incident response plan, although it definitely could be part of a cybersecurity incident response plan. But the important difference that we try to stress is that one does not require technology to have a data breach. If you have an unattended fax machine in a hallway and folks are faxing in, I mean, October 1st is also when we start doing all of our healthcare sign up updates. So if you got a fax machine, I think those still exist in the wild, sitting out there, or a printer, and folks are printing off these forms that contain sensitive information, sitting out in a hallway unsecured, and somebody walks by and grabs the stuff, you have a data breach that really has nothing to do with technology. It has nothing to do with cybersecurity. It has everything to do with policy and practice and procedure. So that's why we really try to stress that we don't want you to build a cybersecurity incident response plan to turn in. I would, as the Chief Privacy Officer, I would assume that the IT team, the CISO, they're going to handle that aspect of planning. But we need to be prepared if there is a data incident, whether it's part of a cyber breach or not. We have to be prepared to act. Jennifer Davis just shared in the chat that an attorney left 3 boxes of court records on the sidewalk outside of the courthouse yesterday, supposedly, allegedly. Nothing to do with technology, everything to do with
went down to
data.
get their car, supposedly went down to get their car, and then went out to carry the boxes, was going to drive down and pick them up and forgot. Records containing children's records, tax returns, social security information, probably some therapy or medical information, financial, supposedly, allegedly did this.
Allegedly. Perhaps.
So as you say this, though, would you, what about, just somebody calling up, some social engineering? I mean, that's not, yes, they're infiltrating a digital system, but it's really not a cyber breakdown as much as it is a personnel issue.
And well, thinking about the social engineering aspect of it, it might be related to what's the objective that they're going after. If it's an attempt to breach our systems through technology, that's one thing. That could be. Social engineering could happen. It happens all the time, and again, not related to technology. Somebody a person in a brown UPS suit walks in the door, doesn't go through any kind of security, and depending on where they go and what they do, that's a data issue. That's not a cybersecurity issue. It's a security issue for sure, but technology doesn't have anything to do with that. And that's sort of along those same lines of the social engineering aspect. I'm trying to get something that I shouldn't have access to. All right. This is a good tool to use. I'm not encouraging anybody to actually use it and adopt it and turn it in, but it's got some good information. This is a data breach incident response plan toolkit from an insurance company, Lawyers Mutual. So they've given a lot of thought around the things that might be important as one is going through the process of planning for a data related incident. The slide deck has the link to it. Don't copy and paste, because that's not going to get you a good grade necessarily, but as a starting point, as one of many possible starting points, there's probably some good material in here that you may want to adopt as you're synthesizing and analyzing the material for your relevant situation. But I did this, I share this every year because it's a really good starting place, both to understand what I might want to include in an incident response plan, some key components that I might want to consider. So please, I encourage everybody, take a look at it for sure, but your work is not done. I mean, if anybody goes out and just downloads this and adds Quantum Leap and turns it in, you're not going to get a very good grade. What are some of the common components of an incident response plan? It's helpful to know who's on the response team. If we have a data incident, who am I going to engage? It might differ a little bit depending on whether we have a technology related incident. It may be a cybersecurity incident that has caused a data incident that has to be dealt with. It's helpful to have a contact sheet for escalation, so that we know who to call. One of my scariest days was when I got a call from a former director of the Department of Information Systems that said that Mandiant had reported to them that there was some suspicious activity between one of our servers in the Justice Building and a known malicious server out in the world. And I knew what I had to do, so I engaged my team. I had my contacts ready, got the team involved, and then I had to escalate it up to my immediate supervisor, the state court administrator, and also notified the Chief Justice. So there was that immediate escalation, because if this did turn into something big, the political folks had to be aware and had to be prepared. Jennifer, do you want to take Mahir's question? Mahir says, do we need a contact sheet with all the tools and AI now in place? Can't we just automate that?
Well, I mean, you're gonna have to tell AI what to put in it, right? I mean, you're gonna have to tell the AI, here's the contact in order to create a contact sheet. So,
Yes, but
mean-
nobody has to keep that sheet and escalate things. All of that can be automated, right?
what if your system goes down?
Well, you have a backup.
What if your backup? I mean, you've never. I mean, what if the whole system is infiltrated?
Well, then we have a bigger problem then.
Exactly. But you know, I mean, you got to think of those things. What if you call me, or like when Tim got the call, what if he was out camping or out hiking and didn't have access to his computer?
Right.
Yeah, I
That's
was
why
in my
the
backyard.
automated incident response should take care of all of those things. If people are on
Pardon?
vacation or out of the office.
Do what now? What was that? Y'all were talking at the same time. I couldn't hear you.
I said that's why the automated incident response software, AI, whatever it is, should take care of all of that. You know, if people are out of the office on vacation, whatever. I just feel like this is a lot of, I don't know, still old school, I guess, in this day and age.
Old school. I love it. But so
I mean,
first of
perhaps,
all,
but I mean, here's the thing. AI is a supplement. It's never a replacement. And
it's a
they're going to
tool.
call Tim to say, hey, here's the thing. They make the phone call. It's, you know, AI may detect something on your network, but it doesn't just handle it. And there has to be a human in the loop when it comes to AI.
And AI is not going to know that the UPS guy wasn't really a UPS guy and just walked out with a stack of papers from the copy machine or from the fax machine. Again, the first point, and maybe you weren't here yet, but one of the first points that I made was not every data incident is going to be technology related. There are policy failures and process failures, lawyers that leave a box of stuff at the courthouse steps.
Exactly.
So I get what Mihir is saying. We need to utilize the technologies that we have available to the best of our abilities. I don't disagree with that at all. But I'm not.
But there has to be a human in the loop somewhere.
Absolutely. I'm not going to let an AI make a determination whether an incident has occurred. I'm not going to let an AI make the call to shut down all of our systems because we may or may not have an incident that's unfolding. That's my responsibility. I certainly, and we have tools today that allow the AI assistants to help identify those things. Certainly, so absolutely, we should use those things to help. But even something as simple as maintaining a contact sheet, I'm gonna want to have it close at hand and ready, just in case the technologies that I rely on aren't available for some reason. We've had all day long. We had an issue. North Little Rock District Court has been unable to access our case management system. And all day long, their IT folks were pointing at us that we did something. And of course, everybody else in the state is doing just fine. So I think they may have finally figured out what the cause was. But today was an example where a court could not work because of a technology failure. So having having any of these things only in a form that's used by an AI agent or AI tool, I think that's malpractice as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and a lot of it, like who, like say records are left outside on the courthouse steps. A security guard finds that. Is it up to him to automate, to kick off an automation for that? I mean, what if it's all of a sudden the escalation goes straight up to, the Chief Justice? I mean, you have to determine like who is it that takes charge, so you don't want to leave that up to anybody to kick off this automation. They need to know who do they need to contact when things happen. And then that person who is in charge of this whole system kicks off the process.
Have we convinced you, Mahir?
Not really, but thank you.
Okay. That's a fair answer. That is a fair answer, man. I'll take that. I'll take that. Not for lack of trying. Okay, so maintain a contact sheet. We have to maintain contact information for escalation.
I mean, and then that maintaining a contact sheet doesn't mean like everybody has to carry a laminated paper in their, phone numbers in their wallet kind of thing. But there needs to be a contact sheet. Like, who do I need to contact?
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's like in your address book or your phone book or something on your phone, I mean, it doesn't have to be like a paper card. So, okay, go ahead.
What are the criteria for suspecting or detecting an incident? If I'm in the process of planning for an incident, I need to have some idea of what are the criteria that will be considered when determining whether to activate the plan. One thing we absolutely expect to see from you all is some sort of incident reporting form. It doesn't have to be an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, but there has to be some way to submit an incident, to report an incident to the appropriate people when we think an incident has occurred. It's helpful to have some sort of incident flow chart, some incident response flow chart, so you can track the process. Again, even thinking about having an automated system to help me manage an incident, it would still have some sort of workflow built in to help guide me through the process. So as you're composing your incident response plans, I would expect to see something along the lines of a flow chart to indicate how the process is managed. Again, remember, this is in the risk management arena. So I need a tool that's going to help me manage this risk that may have been realized. The incident response plan should have a draft breach notification. So in the heat of battle, we don't want to waste time engaging the legal group or the PR group to formulate a notification. Instead, your IRP should have one already there. You'll have a form template. You'll have to be able to provide appropriate level details during an actual incident, but the IRP should contain that draft notification. Thinking about who is it going to come from? Is it coming from the communications group? Is it coming from the president or CIO? Who's going to be the voice that's communicating with the public, with the community, with the customers when a notification may be required? So I'll say absolutely, when we're grading your IRPs, if you don't have a notification in your packet, I would be disappointed. I would expect to see one. You may need also customer and or employee notices, and give some consideration to what laws might apply. Again, we're not going to ask you to apply the law to the circumstances. We're not there, but we are going to ask you to try to identify potential implications. So, for example, if in my sample document, I might indicate that if European customers are impacted, GDPR language may be required, or something like that. So it's okay to be general and not specific in these circumstances, but at least to recognize that some area of the law may apply to the notices or notifications that may be required. Other policies or procedures. This is where the planning process may also impact other areas of the organization. So we may require annual privacy awareness training. We may require onboarding training or policy review. So that may be part of, excuse me, the incident response plan itself. There should be something about how often we take the plan off the shelf and review it and update it. One of the in the early days of disaster planning or incident response planning, we would spend weeks building these elaborate plans and then put them on a shelf and forget about them until we needed them. But we have to get into a mindset of not only doing the work to prepare the plans, but also periodically reviewing them and updating to ensure that the plan is ripe and ready whenever it's needed. And automate it. Yes. Let's do that. Mahir, are you familiar with the term work slop?
Work slop? No.
Okay. Your homework tonight is to report back the meaning of work slop next week. It's sort of a pejorative term about a lot of the garbage that's being turned in by generative AI. And folks are, I mean, it's got its own name now. And that's, again, one of the reasons why, as a fairly new technology, we need to be a little mindful of the result. There was this is a funny thing. I had seen, I can't even remember where I saw it, but someone had prompted, I think it was ChatGPT, and asked, is 9.9 less than 9.11? And the response was yes. 9 is less than 11. Therefore, 9.9 is less than 9.11, which was totally wrong. It was totally, I think I did this at work, so I may have to share this back with you guys. I should have snapshotted it and dropped it. But when I saw the thing that I saw that did that, it's like, surely it can't be that wrong. It can't be that stupid. But when I put in the prompt, I mean,
You could replicate it?
I replicated it. So I don't know if, they may have fixed it by now. Or no, it was, is 9.11 bigger than 9.9 was the way it was phrased. But it came back and sort of did the math incorrectly. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I am not an AI hater. I think it's an important tool. We've got to get a handle on it. The next few slides, I am not going to read this stuff. It's in the text. This is from the privacy program management text, not the required text. But as you're preparing the work to build your incident response plan with or without AI tools, there's some good information in these couple of slides about things that one might wish to include in the incident response plan. One of the questions that we've always had in incident response planning when we're trying to imagine the roles of various players, whether it's a disaster response plan or it's a cybersecurity incident response plan or data incident response plan, should we include the actual persons holding those positions, or should we refer to the positions themselves? And there's some debate about that, but it's, in my opinion, it's helpful to know who are the individuals that I'm going to contact or engage for the purposes of analysis. Also, when we're doing our response planning, we do so much work that relies on vendors and third parties today that a good response plan is going to need to consider the implications of those third parties when we're going through the planning process. And it could be if I have a data related incident regarding one of the vendor provided systems that I have, that I'm certainly going to want to engage my vendor in helping to analyze the incident as we're trying to resolve it. Is it 8:30 yet? Think about the escalation issues, when and how high should issues be escalated, and that's going to vary pretty dramatically based on the organization. We're going to need to consider the insurance aspects, possibly. If I have a cyber liability insurance policy and the data breach is part of a cybersecurity incident, I may have some insurance responsibilities that may need to be planned for. What role are the attorneys in the organization going to play, especially if you're in a heavily regulated industry, if you're in a healthcare industry, or a financial industry, where the regulations are fairly extensive and fairly strict, you'll need to appropriately plan for the engagement of legal folks. I mentioned, yeah, there are several schools of thought about listing specific team members and contact information. Many plans include these, but when you do that, you also have to maintain the time to keep that information updated, or have your AI aware that whenever there's a change in roles that the plan is automatically updated. It's also possible that you may be relying on a vendor who suffers a data breach, and there may be implications, notification implications or legal implications on you by virtue of your relationship to that vendor who suffered the breach. This is a fairly simple reporting mechanism. And again, this came out of the privacy program management text. What are the facts? What are the circumstances of the incident? Name and contact information, who discovered the incident, date and time that it was brought to your attention, incident date and time, type of data suspected to be involved, internal organization or employee data, customer or client data, third-party partner or vendor data, and then a description of what occurred, brief description of how the incident or breach was discovered. Does the incident involve paper records, electronic information, or both? And I can't stress this enough. We're not talking about building a cybersecurity incident response plan here. A cybersecurity incident response plan isn't going to care about the paper in your printer, or the paper in your fax machine, or the paper in your file cabinets, but a data breach incident response plan is going to care very much about those things. Continuing on, what type of records or media do you believe were involved? If it's paper, do we have letters, office correspondence, corporate documents, fax or copies? If it's electronic, data files or records, emails, devices, desktops, pad style computers, hard drives, and other electronic equipment, copy machines. I remember back in the day when copy machines only made copies, and now they store quite a bit of stuff that they're generating. And I hadn't even thought of our copy machines as a potential data risk.
And they scan right out the email now.
Yeah.
Just drop something on there and have it all.
But they also have they have so much memory themselves, and I have no idea. I mean, we've got a couple of pretty big copy printers in the building. People use them to scan the email, or to do pretty big print jobs, and I have no idea what our retention rules are for those devices. and now I'm sitting here thinking I need to talk to somebody. Because we have printer devices all over the building, and even things like misconfiguration within a building can result in inadvertent disclosure of confidential information. Not that anybody would ever do that. That was last week. The media, external hard drives, flash or thumb drives, USB keys. I think too, and it's not up here, but we have so many cloud-based storage systems now. Was it Dropbox that had a incident a few years ago? Jennifer, do you remember?
Yep, I think 2013.
Was it? I couldn't remember if it was Dropbox or one of the others, but I was thinking Dropbox, and it was a pretty big one. So even a decade ago, we had to start thinking about the cloud-based storage of sensitive information. Do we know if the device or information was password protected? Do we know if the device or information was encrypted? Do we believe personally identifiable information like social security numbers, account information, usernames, or passwords were exposed? So these are good questions one might ask to gather information for the purpose of reporting a data incident. Can you estimate how many records were involved? To the best of your knowledge, has the incident been contained? Has the leak or loss stopped? Or is there still potential for additional data to be lost? So again, I think there's an absolute expectation that your incident response plan will include a reporting form of some sort, a tool to collect the reports of incidents. And these are some of the questions you might consider in building that form. These are some of the guidelines. So the biggest thing that we've seen that is problematic is when somebody submits an incident response plan that's not tailored to the assignment. So it may, like other assignments, contain stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with the business that we're in as Quantum Leap. And I think, again, in the past, we've had assignments that didn't even mention the name of the company at all. Just generic work that wasn't tailored to the situation. So it absolutely must be tailored to the assignment, just like the previous assignments. Folks always ask, how many pages? And we always say, not too many, not too few. It's going to be up to you. It shouldn't be too long and too overly detailed. Why might we not want to make an incident response plan too detailed or too long?
It shouldn't be complicated.
It shouldn't be complicated. We need folks to be able to rely on it and to use it. It's got to be a usable tool. If the thing is 500 pages and I've got an incident and I'm on the team and I've got to start responding and I can't even figure out where to start, we're in big trouble. So we need something that's streamlined, that's effective, that's a useful tool to guide our employees, but is also detailed enough to help them go through this workflow, through this process, to resolve the problem, to get the issue to its conclusion. I had, so many years ago, when we were working on our disaster response plan, and I got so frustrated at my team because they wanted to go down the rabbit hole of exploring every possible disaster that could occur, and then to try to formulate some custom response depending on the nature of the disaster. And we had so many meetings. Jennifer, those were hard days. Those were hard days. But I finally convinced them. It's not about the specific scenario that you're going to have to respond to. We can generalize the scenarios and formulate acceptable responses based on these general commonalities between the types of disasters that we're likely to see. We are not going to plan for an asteroid impact, because if it does happen, I'm not going to care. We're not going to deal with that. But fire, flood, tornado, I mean, and those are pretty generic. If something takes out the Justice Building physically, I've got to respond. So it took way too long to get our team to the point where they could move on and continue the planning, because they wanted to explore those ideas.
Do you ever do any kind of game scenario?
We do, yeah.
Like, is it just a way to keep your, like a PD type thing?
Yes, we do. In fact, one of the fun things I got to do this past year, we did with CISA and MS Isaac and the National Center for State Courts. We got to do regional tabletop exercises. So in each region of the United States, we brought in state court administrators, chief justices, security teams, IT teams, and then we went through a series of tabletop exercises. So we got to do that all around the country. I got to go up to Sun Valley, Idaho, to lead an exercise up there. And then we had other folks that came and did other regions. But that was one of the cool things that we did, and sort of did it at a national level. What we haven't done, and I think, Jennifer, this is something that maybe you guys and maybe us and AAC or Municipal League could partner in, but we need to do something like that for our cities and counties, and I mean, Lord knows they've all had their share of types of disasters. But that would,
and if it hurts one branch, it hurts us all, even if we're not directly responsible for them.
Absolutely.
It hurts everybody.
but I think maybe put a bug in some ears over there. But we've got some materials that we could use that would be relevant, and it wouldn't be too hard to adjust them, and engage cities and counties. Maybe do some regional workshops or something like that.
Seems like a good way to flesh out these plans too. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
You can punch holes in it if you have them, but if they're too prescriptive, you can be like, this was restricted. I mean,
Right. And they're all required to have plans as part of the audit process. But again, it's one of those things where somebody has to be responsible, and you have to take the time to think about it, to execute the plan, to test the plan, and keep the plan updated. And too many times it's just not done. So it really needs to be a practical guide, so that when a breach occurs, the team will know what to do. I remember in 2005, one of the first Court Information Technology Officer Consortium meetings that I went to, our counterparts down in New Orleans had just made it through. It was 2006. Had just made it through Katrina, and they were talking about the things that they didn't expect as a result of their disaster plans. One of them was that surprisingly, cell phones, you couldn't make a phone call, but text messaging, SMS messages were still going through the network, even through the devastation of Katrina. So anyway, we need to have something practical that we can use. So it can't be too complicated, not too big, not too much, but find the Goldilocks zone and make it just right. So assignment 4 is due beginning of class November 5th. We'll talk about it some more before we get there. We're going to switch gears now and do, to the extent that we're able to. This is going to be more of a discussion, I think, than a polling. I usually use a polling tool, but we don't have enough folks to justify that. So we're going to run through some scenarios, and the question will be, would you approve or disapprove, or maybe neither. We'll see you guys in the classroom. Yeah, is it acceptable, not acceptable, or maybe it depends. So the first scenario, several coworkers of yours have recently had personal belongings stolen from your workplace, and the company is planning to install high-resolution security cameras that are probably AI run using facial recognition technology to help identify the thieves and make the workplace more secure. The footage would stay on file as long as the company wishes to retain it, and could be used to track various measures of employee attendance and performance. So the question to you all is, do you approve? Is it acceptable? Is it not acceptable? Or is your answer that it depends? So for those of you that are live out there, respond either acceptable, not acceptable, or it depends. And what do you guys in the classroom think?
I mean, I think in-house it's acceptable. I don't like the retention.
Okay. And we're catching criminals. It's got to be okay, right? So and you guys can see on the screen here, this is from a Pew research done in 2016. So we're almost 10 years out. At the time of the polling in 2016, 54% of the respondents said it was acceptable, 24 not acceptable, 21 it depends. So a little over half said, yeah, that's okay. Next one, sharing health information. A new health information website is being used by your doctor's office to help manage patient records. So again, 2016, when things like that were kind of new, I guess. Your participation would allow you to have access to your own health records and make scheduling appointments easier. If you choose to participate, you will be allowing your doctor's office to upload your health records to the website, and the doctor promises it is a secure site. Mahir, isn't that my chart? Yeah. In 2016, we were sort of at the dawn of such things, and I'm just going to jump on. So even in 2016, most people said, yeah, this is okay. I like the convenience of getting my health information. And today, probably most of us already rely on those things. We just take it as a given. And what we've seen over the last few years of teaching the class, our acceptable rate for these things is like way above 50%. It's like not quite unanimous, but almost unanimous.
They've got us trained.
I know.
Just like, do whatever.
We've been prepared. And it's also been interesting to see the trends over time. So we've been teaching the class since 2019. So, again, even 2019, that was just a few years out from the original poll, and seeing the attitudes of our classmates change over the last 5 years has been interesting. Retail loyalty cards. A grocery store has offered you a free loyalty card that will save you money on your purchases. In exchange, the store will keep track of your shopping habits and sell this data to third parties. Acceptable? It depends. Not acceptable. We want our Kroger Plus card. I want. See, Jerica says it depends. It depends on, how much is that discount? I used to love Kohl's. Using Kohl's Cash and the Kohl's discount, get a 30% discount. But I'm not a Kohl's fan anymore. The last few times I've gotten the Kohl's 30% off discounts, it was like there were so many exceptions. That's like there's only like one little thing in the store that you could buy that was actually 30% off. So goodbye, Kohl's. So Jerica, depends on who the third party is. If it's over 200, then I can go with it. Yeah. So back in 2016, again, so now we're below half. Less than half the respondents were willing to give up their information for big discounts. This, again, the trend in the class over the last few years has been typically a little bit over half, not as much as the earlier ones, but people still wanted their discounts. I think just changes in the industry post-COVID too maybe have impacted expectations. What about insurance? So your insurance company is offering a discount to you if you agree to place a device in your car that allows monitoring of your driving speed and location. After the company collects data about your driving habits, it may offer you further discounts to reward you for safe driving. Robin says, eek, no way. What about the rest of you guys?
That's depends for me.
It depends.
Well, I just actually had this argument, just like a month ago with State Farm, about doing.
Drive safe and save, yeah.
Yeah, and my logic was I haven't had a ticket in the 25 years I've done business with you. So my 16-year-old kids, low jack,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that one feels pretty good.
Yeah, I had teenagers and I did the drive safe and save.
I mean, I'm on one right now, like as we speak, I'm on one right now, so I think it's acceptable for me.
Must be a good travel.
I mean, they give me discounts.
That's a pretty good discount.
Yeah.
So that, for me, that would be it depends. It depends on how big this discount is. Yeah, they use your cell phone to track your driving, basically acceleration and braking. The State Farm thing, they put a Bluetooth device, yeah, that connected. It basically connected or collected the data from your phone. I did that, and let's see, worst 2 months ever. So again, for me, it was fun when I had the teenagers to manage, and we had some good discussions about the quality of their driving. So we would review the trips, and it was a good tool. I liked it. I have limited trust in insurance companies. Yeah, it's more than I have. I'd like to see transparent data on when and how discounts are applied before I can consider it acceptable. And that might be one of those things where you might want to try it out, and then if the discount isn't worth it, you might change your mind. So in this case, in 2016, again, a decade ago almost, only 37% found it acceptable. And again, I think the trend over the last few years in our class has been around half or maybe slightly more than half, just because this is how the insurance companies are marketing to us now.
So,
and the rates are insane as it is.
so based on this research, it takes about 10 years for a technology to become acceptable, and we don't care.
That's kind of an interesting notion. I mean, it would be, if I were a graduate student, I might want to go and pull that Pew Research from 2016 and repeat the study today, because again, some of these things that we were talking about were fairly new at that time, and now they're just out there. We accept them. It would be a fun research project. Free social media, a new social media platform, probably called MySpace or something, is being used by your former high school to help manage communications about a class reunion. You can find out the basic information about the reunion over email, but your participation on the social media site would reconnect you with old friends and allow you to communicate more easily with those who are attending. If you choose to participate, you'll be creating a profile using your real name and sharing a photo of yourself. Your access to the service is free, but your activity on the site would be used by the site to deliver advertisements it hopes will be appealing to you. And what do you think? Acceptable, not acceptable? It depends. It depends on what your experience in high school was and whether you want to connect with these folks.
Acceptable.
Acceptable. I mean, this is no big deal. And at this point in 2016, only 33% of the respondents to the Pew poll found that acceptable. Isn't that weird? I mean,
When you look at how we use every platform out.
Yes.
This is the model.
yeah. I don't know. It's funny looking at these numbers from today's perspective. Even back then, 2015, 2016, Facebook and MySpace were pretty big. All right. I think this may be the last one. A new technology company has created an inexpensive thermostat sensor for your house that would learn about your temperature zone and movements around the house and potentially save you on your energy bill. It's programmable remotely in return for sharing data about some of the basic activities that take place in your house, like when people are there and when they move from room to room. What do you guys think? Acceptable. Acceptable? Yeah. We have one unacceptable, one no way. And I've had a Nest for many years now, and I love it. I haven't reviewed the privacy policy, the Nest privacy policy lately. I don't think it has the capability to track people moving from room to room necessarily. But I still find it really useful. 27% in 2016 said this is acceptable. 55% said no way. So pretty big change in those last 10 years. So the polling was conducted January and February 2015, just over a decade ago. I haven't looked. I meant to go out and take a look to see if they've done any updates. As of last year, they had not done any updates on the polling. But it would be interesting to see if our experience in the class is tracked with the rest of the world. Let's spend 7:12. Let's spend some time talking about data breach notifications. The biggest challenge, you remember early on in the class, one of the biggest challenges that we face in the United States is that we don't have a national privacy law that we can rely on. We have to look at a mixture of state laws and possibly federal regulations to figure out what may apply in a given circumstance. One of the tools that we have available, and I've got the hypertext link available in the slides. And let's see if this will follow the link. This is a super useful tool. Summary of U.S. state data breach notification statutes. And you guys can't see it. Let me drag it over to the right screen to share it out to the rest of the world. So you can basically select the state that you're interested in, and it will provide you some summary information about the notification requirements. Anyways, super useful tool if you're just trying to get a feel for what the state level implications for notification may be. When we're trying to determine whether a data breach notification is required, we should consider what the trigger for the notice may be. And again, that's going to vary depending on the laws of the states. In many cases, a reasonable belief that the data has been accessed or acquired is a sufficient trigger. In others, a risk of misuse or harm to the affected party may be required. So there's sort of a range of the likely harm caused by the data exposure that will trigger the notification laws. One of the most common exceptions to notification requirements in the event of a data breach is that there is no reasonable likelihood of harm flowing from the breach. For example, if the incident that we're dealing with is a stolen laptop, and the drive on the laptop is encrypted at rest, unless the person who took it has access to like some really good supercomputers or quantum computers, the likelihood of anybody being able to access it is very low. It's almost non-existent. So in that case, in a law that says, or in a state where the law is that there is no reasonable likelihood of harm, then I wouldn't have to notify, if assuming again that the laptop contained customer data or health data, whatever, there would be no notification requirement because there's zero risk of harm because I've taken the steps necessary to protect that data in case it was taken inappropriately. The slide also notes that some states provide an exception built around a finding that there is no reasonable likelihood of misuse of the breached data, which is a little bit of a twist from the no reasonable likelihood of harm test. So assuming that notification is required, who must be notified? So this is an area that the laws of the states are going to specify. Obviously, the people whose data was taken, the affected persons, individuals, they should be notified. In some cases, again, when in so many circumstances where we're dealing with third-party entities, maybe I have a contractor that's doing data processing for me. I may have, I may be the owner of the data. They may be doing the work for me, but that they may be the ones that have been just that have experienced a breach. They may have a notification requirement to the owner of the data, or maybe I license the data to them. There may be a reporting requirement, notification requirement. In many cases, notification to credit reporting agencies may be required. I think most of the states require that the state's attorney general be notified. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second as to why. And then in some circumstances, information brokers, people who are in the business of sharing information, may need to be notified. So what about enforcing the notification laws? This is an interesting question. So generally, anybody can go into court and sue anybody else for anything, but that doesn't mean you're going to win, and it doesn't mean that you have a cause of action that is recognized by the courts. In many states, if you are a subject of a data breach, you have no recourse, no direct recourse. You have no right to go out and sue the folks who, maybe they were negligent. Maybe they didn't encrypt their data at rest as they should have. But you have no right to go out and sue them for the damages that they've caused. So only a minority of states provide a private right of action. So that means that an individual can sue for the harm caused by the data breach. In states with such a statutory right, private parties can sue for violations of the state breach notification law. So if you were required to be notified and you weren't notified, in some states you can sue. In other states, in most states, you cannot. However, in those states, typically the state attorney general can enforce the notification law. We're going to talk a little bit about some Arkansas specific stuff here for a minute. And again, I'm not going to read through these slides, but it's here for you to go back and digest and think about outside of the class. I'm trying to remember how long ago was this adopted in Arkansas? Jennifer, do you remember?
I don't remember right off the top of my head, but it's been a while.
It's been a while. There was some 2019 amendments. We'll talk about just a little bit. I'm thinking, I don't know. I'll have to go and look. I just can't remember. It was over a decade by now.
2005.
2005. Okay, that was kind of where I was thinking. So a lot of the stuff sort of coincides with the early days of the internet. So as more and more information was being provided online, the states started thinking about the policy implications of that. We got some definitions: breach of the security of the system, medical information, personal information. So personal information means an individual's first name or first initial and his or her last name in combination with any one or more of the following data elements when either the name or the data element is not encrypted or redacted: social security number, driver's license number, account number, credit card number, debit card number, medical information. In 2019, I thought it was kind of interesting. Arkansas increased the definition of personal information to include biometric data. So this was, again, just 6 years ago. The notion that our fingerprints, face prints, retina scans, hand geometry, voice print analysis, DNA, and under G, sort of a catch-all, any other unique biological characteristics of an individual, if the characteristics are used by the owner or licensee to uniquely authenticate the individual's identity when the individual accesses a system or account. So those things are now considered personal information. The Chinese have been doing a lot of work in gait recognition, the ability to identify individuals just based on the way that they walk. So if we incorporated a gait recognition system, maybe in the airport or something like that, do we think that would fit within Arkansas's definition of personal information, the way we walk? Is it a unique biological characteristic of the individual?
If it's nuanced enough to identify an individual based off of that data, then why would that not fit into that? Like a face print or a fingerprint?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Just another aspect of the character. So this is super cool. What about Wi-Fi signal fingerprints? So what was that back in the summer? Was that like July? Yeah, late July. So now individuals can be identified by Wi-Fi signals. Do we think that would include or fall within the definition of personal information? And it's really no different than the gait recognition.
Is there a threshold, like a accuracy threshold that you should use kind of as a judgment here? I mean, what would be admissible in the court of law for, to say that this part,
Well, so the language says any other unique biological characteristics. So, the way Wi-Fi signals bounce off of us, the way we walk, I think those are unique biological characteristics. If they're used by the owner to uniquely authenticate the individual's identity, that's kind of what they're doing when the individual accesses a system or account.
I like the name, Wi-Fi.
So I think it's arguable, and I I think we're just, again, we're touching on the potential ways to positively identify individuals, the technologies we have available. So this is Arkansas Code Annotated 4110105 regarding disclosure of security breaches. So any person or business that acquires, owns, or licenses computerized data that includes personal information. So even Subway down the street, if they own or license computerized data that includes personal information, shall disclose any breach of the security of the system following discovery or notification of the breach of the security of the system to any resident of Arkansas whose unencrypted personal information was or is reasonably believed to have been acquired by an unauthorized person. The disclosure shall be made in the most expedient time and manner, so as quickly as possible, without unreasonable delay, consistent with the legitimate need of law enforcement, as provided in Section C of the section. We'll get to that in a little bit, to determine the scope of the breach and restore the reasonable integrity of the data system. So if you discover a breach, you may be required to notify the victims, but you have to do it expediently, but you still have some time to take reasonable measures to protect the data and the systems. A person or business that maintains computerized data that includes personal information that the person or business does not own shall notify the owner or licensee that there has been a breach. So this is a third party that may have been breached. So they have a responsibility. If a breach of the security of the system affects, so this is sort of the threshold numbers that we would be interested here in Arkansas. If a breach of the security of the system affects the personal information of more than 1,000 individuals, so if the data breach includes only 999 individuals, then the notification requirement isn't activated. The person or business required to make a disclosure of the security breach under subdivision B1 of this section shall, at the same time the security breach is disclosed to an affected individual, or within 45 days after the person or business determines that there is a reasonable likelihood of harm. So remember, a few slides back, we looked at a couple of the standard tests that the states use in Arkansas. If there is a reasonable likelihood of harm to customers, disclose the security breach to the Attorney General. So 1,000 people and reasonable likelihood of harm to customers are two of the key factors that would play in Arkansas in determining whether notification is required. Notification may be delayed if a law enforcement agency determines that the notification will impede a criminal investigation. So if state police says don't tell anybody yet, we're in the middle of our investigation, then you're excused from that expediency requirement. The notification by the section shall be made after the law enforcement agency determines it will not compromise the investigation. So investigation is over, then the notification requirement is re-engaged, and you have to notify those people. And again, notification under this section is not required if after a reasonable investigation, the person or business determines that there is no reasonable likelihood of harm to customers. Again, if my data's encrypted at rest and the laptop was taken, there's no risk of harm. There's really no risk of harm. So I'm not required to figure out who was on that laptop and notify those people. If I left a box of sensitive court documents on the courthouse steps, in that case, hopefully,
Allegedly, supposedly.
supposedly, hopefully, there were less than 1,000 folks implicated in that information. I mean, if it was a big file, it could pretty easily rise up to that threshold. Section E talks about how do we make the notice. We can do a written notice, electronic mail notice. How many have you guys received both notices of data breaches in the mail, in email? I've gotten them both ways. I guess one of the last ones I got by mail was from the doctor's office, where they were sending out notice. They got their mailing information off kilter, and they were notifying the wrong people about stuff. But that notification came in the mail. See, substitute notice if the person or business demonstrates that the cost of providing notice would exceed $250,000. The affected class of the persons exceeds 500,000. Business does not have sufficient contact information. So these are again threshold requirements in figuring out how do we provide the notification that a data breach occurred. Notification by statewide media, conspicuous posting of the notice on the website of the person or business. I mean, we've seen that multiple times. Did you show any of those earlier in the course this year, Jennifer? Seems like So some of the data notifications that showed up on websites.
Yes, we did. We covered those earlier.
Yeah. And again,
I had just gotten some in the mail.
Go ahead.
I said I had just gotten a new one in the mail from the Arkansas Heart Hospital.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I got one. I think I got one of those too.
Yep.
This is an interesting exception. So, notwithstanding subsection E of this section, the previous section, a person or business that maintains its own notification procedures. I'm reading this slowly. As part of an information security policy for the treatment of the personal information, and is otherwise consistent with the timing requirements of this section, shall be deemed to be in compliance with the notification requirements of this section if the person or business notifies affected persons in accordance with its policies.
I mean,
Yes.
Basically, I can have make my own rules up, and as long as
Yes.
I'm doing the notification.
And follow your rules.
I can
Yes.
supersede the law
Yes.
on the books.
Yes.
Is there a lot of that going
Because-
on in the legal world? No,
Ah,
I'm sure.
it's weird. It's weird, but the presumption is, so the whole goal of this is for to encourage the corporate world to be responsible and let people know when there's a problem. So the point of this section then is make it a part of your process, make it a part of your policy.
So we don't have to.
So you don't have to, yeah. So we don't have to go and deal with the rules otherwise. So it's, it's good for you, it's good for them, it's good for our customers. And I can't think of another example offhand, Jennifer, where writing your own policy in an area gives you presumptive compliance with the law. Can you think of any other?
I can't either, but that's why also I find this law to be fairly useless.
Yeah.
This doesn't seem consumer friendly.
It doesn't seem consumer friendly. It's very, very business friendly, I think.
So why was that never challenged? I know.
I think it's just an old law, and at the time when it was enacted, they thought they were doing the right thing, and it just hasn't been really useful, especially with the rise of federal laws and, covering data from a regulatory standpoint.
Yeah. And there hasn't been a great demand from the people to go out and fix this stuff or change it.
So basically just outdated.
Write your legislators. So Mahir asks, since Quantum Leap is headquartered in Arkansas, do we have to consider those state laws for the data breach assignment? Yes, but again, the standard of review for us is familiarity with the existence of the requirements, not your ability to conduct a legal analysis of the requirements. And I hope that helps me here. So if you said, as a result of the breach, notification to blah, blah, blah is required under Arkansas law, because there were more than 1,000 people, even if we found that was not a correct conclusion, I would absolutely give you full credit for that analysis, just that level of familiarity, even if it weren't applied perfectly under the circumstances, that would be very impressive to me. This is also an important aspect. So in this circumstance, the General Assembly says that an individual cannot waive your right to notification. And we know that, especially in their notices on websites, and within devices and tools and software, companies are really good at getting us to accept waivers of things without us even noticing it or reading those things. So in this case, if Quantum Leap said use of our tools constitutes a waiver of any notification requirements for a data breach. At least in Arkansas, this law says you can't do that. Your customers cannot agree to waive their right to notification. So any waiver of a provision of this chapter is contrary to public policy, void, and unenforceable. So if a notice said, customer hereby waives all requirements for notification of disclosure of personal identifying information, any rights or remedies arising therefrom, and holds company harmless, absolutely worthless, and unenforceable. And in Arkansas is one of those states where a violation is only pursuable by the Attorney General. The Attorney General has the right of action, but as individuals, we do not have a right of action for violation of the notification requirements. I'd already mentioned early on, we've got the website where you can go and look at the state summaries. In your text, chapter 9 has some tables with some summary information on state notification laws. So it's out there as a tool. And I think I'm going to, if there are no objections, I'm going to pause tonight, and I'm going to continue next week digging into the risk stuff. Are there any objections to going ahead and closing out tonight, and then we'll start up here. I think both for the current assignment, for the PIA assignment, and for the information or the incident response plan, having a good handle on risk management stuff is pretty important, because these are risk related tools. So I want to spend some more time than really what we have tonight, I think, to dig into that. So Jennifer, what do you think? Jennifer Davis, we can't hear you. Maybe she left. You out there, Jennifer? All right, it looks like we may have lost Jennifer. We may need to send someone to make sure she's okay. Not really. I'm sure it was probably one of those barking dog things. We'll see you guys next week. This is where we'll kick off next Wednesday. And then we'll talk more about the risk management aspects. We'll talk a little bit more about the PIA that's due, and that should be just about it. Any questions, comments, concerns?
No, thank you. This was very interesting.
All right, Nahir. Look forward to seeing what your AI does for incident response planning.
It's gonna be a,
And I'm being glib.
it's gonna be a huge script.
I really am fascinated by the potential for these tools. My personal belief is that these are paradigm shifting times for us. And I have absolutely zero hard feelings about being called out for a contact sheet being kind of old school. I love that. I love that you did that, and I appreciate that. This is the place. This is the place and the time to do that. So thank you for that. Remember, y'all. The important stuff is taking care of yourself and taking care of your friends and family and the people that you love. This stuff is going to be here. We're going to be here. Work hard, do your best, but remember why you're doing the things that you're doing, and take care of the things that really matter. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you.
Hey, hello, sir. Hello, sir. Dr. Timothy, can I ask you one thing?
Okay.
Oh, I was trying to ask you, when are we going to get the report for our assignment sheet, so that we, that assignment three about
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
about
you're breaking up really, really bad, Emmanuel.
I was trying to say that when are we going to get the feedback from the assignment?
Yeah, Jennifer has been working on the grading. I think she's getting pretty close to being finished. But I think we may have lost her. So I can't tell you, but I would expect you'll hear something this week to get the feedback on the privacy policy and privacy notice. All right?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Jennifer out there.
So onion, pepper, garlic, I mixed it, then I allowed it to steam on fire for a while so it was boiling. Then I added the already cooked meat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, but it's softened up, it
Oh,
wasn't,
yeah,
it wasn't too
yeah,
chewy.
it's something that, I think there's something we put in it to make it a little softer. It's called, where I come from, we call it cumin, but I don't know the English name for that over here. So I brought some from home, so I just put that in there to make it a little softer.
Well, I'm glad you actually used it, because I had this habit of growing things, and then I'm like, now what am I gonna do?
Then you just throw them away.
Well, I didn't.
Oh,
Yeah, I have another batch if you